Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on May 1st, 2020, the federal government arbitrarily banned more than 1,500 types of firearms. After the amnesty expires on October 2023, law-abiding Albertans could face jail time under the Criminal Code for simply possessing property that they legally purchased. To the Minister of Justice, how will taking back constitutional jurisdiction for handling charges under the Federal Firearms Act help protect Alberta's law-abiding firearms owners?
The Honourable the Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for the question. And look, we know that Public Safety Canada doesn't have the capacity, they don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the resources to confiscate hundreds of thousands of firearms across Canada. But that doesn't mean we're willing to take any risks. This is a federal government which is making a habit of making life more difficult for folks. The federal government, if they don't extend the amnesty, any person who owns a firearm listed in the 2020 ban will be criminalized by the federal government in October of 23. That's less than a year from now, and that's why we're taking action now.
The Honourable Member for Lac Saint and Parkland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the Minister for the response. Given that Alberta is taking back constitutional jurisdiction for the handling of charges under the Firearms Act, and given that the Alberta's Crown prosecutors will now determine whether to pursue charges or not, and further given that this new protocol provides prosecutors with guidance in respect to public interest when determining the charges, to the same minister, how will the newly issued protocol to Alberta's Crown prosecutors help protect Alberta's law-abiding firearms owners?
The Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, while respecting the operational independence on individual cases, the new protocol provides prosecutors with guidance on figuring out when something is or is not in the public interest and whether or not to pursue charges. The protocol states that it will not be in the public interest to proceed with a charge of possession of a banned firearm where the following factors exist. First, that the accused lawfully obtained the firearm before May 1st, 2020. Second, that the firearm was reclassified as prohibited on May 1st, 2020. And second, that the accused has not been charged with any other offence in relation to the possession or use of that firearm.
The Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and again to the Minister, thank you for your work in this file. Given that the federal government handles cases involving the Federal Firearms Act, and given that the provinces have the constitutional authority to handle federal criminal law charges, including the charges related to the Federal Firearms Act, to the Minister of Justice, how will these steps you've taken today help protect Albertans who own firearms that could be banned under the proposed amendments in Bill C-21?
Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for the question. Over the past month or so, we've seen the federal government continue to push further than we could have ever imagined with the proposed amendments to Bill C-21. These amendments arbitrarily ban hundreds of new models of legally owned shotguns and rifles. This is now legislation which is proposed to target hunters, farmers, sports shooters who collectively own hundreds of thousands of firearms that could soon be prohibited. And if these amendments are successful, C-21 will be the most sweeping and arbitrary ban in Canadian history. The ban will not only be unenforceable, but will criminalize hundreds of thousands of Canadians.